joining us right now because there's a special event happening a little later on tonight, about 6 o'clock, right around the corner over at the Social Club. Broke, Busted, and Disgusted. It is a documentary
about broadcasting.
It's a film about the student loan crisis that traditional college systems have created. And if you've gone to school, you more than likely have had this, hanging over your head for quite a while.
Absolutely.
So tell everybody about this. This seems like a lot of folks' wheelhouse.
Yeah, this has been a labor of love of mine for the past 12 years, guys. I've traveled to about 600 different college campuses.
This movie took you 12 years?
No. The movie was a year and a half in the making.
All right, fair enough.
But this passion of mine for college students and the debt that they're basically accruing over their 4 or 5 or 6 year party that they're on has been growing over the last decade. So I've been on about 600 different college campuses. When I started, the numbers were 20, 30,000, and now I'm hearing numbers in 50, 60, 80, $100,000.
I was at Rubio's event yesterday. He said as of 3 years ago, he had $100,000 in debt. Last night, one of the lines from the debate was, a college degree is now a high school degree. That's what it's worth.
Bachelor's.
Yes.
So how can we be making money off these loans?
Right. It's amazing that it's gotten this far. I mean, we're $1.3 trillion in student loan debt in our country.
You say 35 grand for freshmen? That's the debt?
The average debt for a freshman starting today, what they will graduate with, is going to be $35,000. Now, that's the average. We have outliers that are in the film that have $300,000 in loans.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
How would that be? That's quite a discrepancy. That's 10 times.
It is. This particular story in the film is a veterinarian.
Oh, of course.
So she came out with $300,000, but she said her payments were $1,200 a month. Now, average interest rates on graduate debt is about 7%. So her interest every year is $21,000.
Oh my goodness!
So it's staggering.
Yeah, and you know what? I've got to point my finger. The high school guidance counselors have got to stop convincing these students to go to high money colleges with a crap degree that costs $100 grand a year. Yep. This has to be looked at as a business investment.
Right.
What are you going to get on the return for your piece of paper? It is. I think it's criminal. I think the whole industry is a outrage. I really do.
I couldn't agree more. We have set up societally that what students do at 18 is they go to college, and imagine being 18 and expected to buy a home, and they tell you buy any home you want. It can be as big or as small.
Yeah.
Don't
fulfill your dreams.
Exactly. Yep. And so we have 18-year-olds that are making these house purchase-like decisions, not realizing.
That's a very good way of putting it, because that's really what it comes out to.
It is.
And what happens, and then they graduate and they've got to take the first crappy job that they can get offered because they got to make the payment.
Right.
And you're making money on student loans, and you can't default on student loans right now. I mean, you're putting American kids in handcuffs before they're making any adult decisions. Your documentary's tonight, 6 o'clock.
It's tonight, 6 to 7:30 at the Social Club. We are sponsored by the Iowa Credit Union Foundation and credit unions in Iowa. It's a great product and program. Our goal, honestly and very candidly, is to make Iowa the most financially literate state in the country. We have a long way to go.
What is the credit union's interest in this?
They're a people helping people mentality, and so they wanted to give back. They love having partnerships with the schools, and this was a very natural fit, not selling a product, but educating students on how to minimize debt.
We were talking just about how much money that a freshman now can expect to have in debt by the time they get through. Now, Jason, you have some kids that down the road, they're going to be going to college. How many years from now, do you think?
15-ish.
15? Now, what do you think the debt's going to be in 15 years?
So this is a great question. I went to a financial planner not too long ago. I have 3 children of my own, and said, what will it cost for our kids to go to a state school? And they calculated the interest rates and what inflation would be on tuition and all of that. And he spun his monitor around, and for my 3 kids to go to a state school, he said it would cost $750,000.
I heard between $400,000 to $600,000.
Yeah, and that's disgusting. And again, the line from last night was a college degree is now basically a high school degree.
Right.
You're telling kids you need to do it, so you're just saddling with all this debt. There was a stat that went up that we missed. What is the cost gone up in the last 10 years? It's like 500% or something, cost of college?
So the overall debt load that Americans are carrying has gone up 511% in 10 years. So it went from 200 billion to 1.2 trillion
in the last
10 years.
What's driving the cost increase?
A number of things. You know, it's we have a handful more. It's not a huge amount more of students that are going to school, but there are more students going to school. There are more programs available, which makes it more attractive for them to go. But I think one of the things driving it is the fact that it was easy money. You know, it was around, this time period was 2001 to 11 or 2004 to 14, basically. The recession was in the middle of that. So home equity lines of credit dried up and credit cards were hard to get, but student loans were very easy to get because
you can't default on them. And they're also starting their work life. Well, we're going to get this money out of these guys. That's a safe loan to write.
Right.
It's predatory lending of American kids.
Well, why wouldn't a banker loan money to a student when they know that the government has backed that debt? And I think the long-term fix for this problem is we actually have to rewrite the way that student loans are guaranteed in this country. And what that will do is that will create a downward pressure on tuition so that universities can't charge what they're
Jason,
charging.
you had something?
Well, you know, when I was going to Iowa back in the late 80s, early 90s, the tuition would go up 5–6% every year.
Yes. And
inflation was probably 2–3%.
Right.
And I could never understand that, and it continues today. It goes up way more. Let me look at this as a devil's advocate. You're providing a service to a child. You're providing them an education. There should be a cost attached to it.
Yep.
It's going to cost you money, and like any loan, you should expect to pay interest. So I'm not. I totally agree with you, by the way, but I'm just being the bad guy here.
Yep.
What's the response to that?
Well, it's a very pro-education documentary. We believe in higher ed. We think that going and pursuing a degree is a smart thing, but you have to do it in an informed way, and that's really the challenge of the film that the film presents. Is we ask students what is $60,000 in student loans at 6.8% interest over 10 years, and you get this deer in the headlight look. They have no clue.
Yeah.
They go,
costs money?
$150 a month. You know, the actual answer is $660. And they don't know. So to answer your question, Jason, I think both parents and students need to be informed about how much it is and how much the
And they're
costs.
selling it just like a resort. This has the new health club. This has the new, you get cable television and thing. Yeah. And again, bipartisan. Yesterday, Rubio said, I had $100,000 in debt 3 years ago. He needed a best-selling book to get out of his debt. 3 years ago, the guy's running third for the presidency right now.
Right.
Wow, it's
So
ridiculous.
in Europe, there are countries that subsidize college education for everybody.
German will give you free education. As an American, you can go there and get free college.
Now, nothing is free. Everything costs money as a taxpayer. If you pay for, but is that an answer, or is that a good idea, or would it just make the cost go up that much more?
Well, the challenge right now is, again, societally, we're pushing students to that 4-year program, and the universities know that what they're doing is they're trying to attract those kids by making the beautiful dorms and the nice dining facilities, a high-end coffee shop in the basement. So that would have to change as well if we were making it free.
Wow.
All right, excellent stuff.
So
tonight, 6
Broke,
o'clock.
Busted, Disgusted, 6 p.m. is when you can check this out at the Des Moines Social Club. And what's the cost to check this out?
For free.
It is free.
But there is a 6% interest. So.
If you want to leave, it'll cost you 6%.
That's right.
Just so you know. Wonderful. Well done. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
It
much.
is 3 minutes past 9 o'clock.